Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Today I'm going to try to do this all in one video, and it's the basics of towing a trailer. So I'm going to show you with the setup I have. I have probably one of the most common setups you're going to find as far as a trailer and hitch setup. I have just the standard tow ball. Now there are also other types. A common one for heavier, favorite for heavier loads is your fifth wheel, which you'll typically find on like a pickup truck, usually a 3/4 ton or ton truck or bigger. Then in the off-road community, there's two types of hitch that is often used for off-road travel trailers and the like. The first one is the older style pintle hitch, which I will find a picture and show it to you. Now, this has been used worldwide by most of your militaries, and it's old technology, but it is reliable. And it's and the main advantage of this is that it will give you a lot more articulation in off-road situations before your hitch for your trailer will go into bind, and there's less chance of losing the trailer on the trail with this. Now, your new style, which I'll find a picture of and put it up now, is called a polyblock coupling, and these are generally more expensive than your older pintle style, but they have all the advantages of the increased articulation while off-road, without the drawback of the slop that you get in the pintle style hitches. Where the pintle hitch is a captured ring, you have a lot of play, and that trailer can move a lot. But this is more of a direct coupling with your polyblocks. So basically, you get all the advantages without all the extra slop. But everything I'm going to show you today, the principles will apply to your pintle hitch setups, your polyblock coupling setups, and even your fifth wheel setups, as far as pulling and backing your trailers. Now your hitching procedure is going to be slightly different with each, depending on what method you're using. So, to go ahead and get into it, like I said, I have your standard tow ball. Now you have to pay attention, because I have an 1 7/8" and a 2-inch tow ball. A lot of your smaller light duty trailers think something that you tow a 4-wheeler or lawnmower on is going to be this smaller 1 7/8". It's usually, like I said, it's usually used for lighter duty trailers. When you get up to a heavier duty trailer, like I've got I think it's a 6 or 8x10 utility trailer, but it's built fairly heavy. It uses a 2-inch ball. A lot of your you go up to something like a 16-foot double axle, is usually going to be a 2-inch ball. Now there's a couple of types of receivers and hitches. Now most of your trucks is going to come with a spot to attach a ball onto the bumper, and most of your truck bumpers are tow rated as a class 3 receiver for towing. If you don't have that, then you may have something like this right here, which is a commonly referred to as a reese hitch. It's a tow ball receiver. This one is actually built into my bumper, but they do make them that bolt just to the frame. Now, these come in different sizes, class 1, class 2, class 3, all the way up to, I think, 4 and 5. Class 3 is your common one. That would be your 2-inch square tubing. Class 2 receivers are generally the smaller size square tubing that you will see. Usually you won't Usually you'll find a class 2 receiver with that small tubing on something that like somebody puts a receiver to try to tow with like a car, or a lot of your smaller SUVs and crossovers might have the class 2 receiver. I personally prefer the class 3. They're a little bit heavier duty, a little beefier, and there's less to worry about. One thing I do want to note is that on the Jeep Wranglers and in the off-road world in general, you will see a receiver built into a lot of your rear bumpers. Make sure to check that, because I had a bugger of a time trying to find a bumper for my Jeep that retained the actual class 3 receiver function. Because my Jeep came with the tow package. I do have the factory installed Mopar receiver. I kept it, but this replaced it. But a lot of your off-road bumpers will have a 2-inch receiver, but they are not tow rated. They are designated as a recovery point only. And while you can get away with like a little, like a bicycle rack, I would not trust it pulling a trailer. So that's one of the main things that I looked about. Now, as to your receiver, you can get fancy and buy locks. If you're going to leave it on the vehicle, do not leave a lock on it. The lock will seize up and you'll have to cut the pin. I don't leave my receiver on. I usually keep it in the back of the Jeep, so just the simple pin and style will work for me. So basically, you pull your pin, you slide it in. Now you'll have 2 holes. Let me grab the camera and bring you in close. So you'll have a hole on each side, and you will have a hole in your receiver. And what you do is you line it up, slide your pin through, and then put your pin on, and now our receiver's in place. So again, this is my setup. Depending on what setup you have, it may be slightly different. So what we're going to do is we have the Jeep ready to go. So we'll come over here and I'll walk you through getting the trailer hooked to the tow vehicle. Okay, so we've got the Jeep pulled around. I've got the trailer ready to hitch up. But I just wanted to go over this with everyone. Ideally, you want to try to back square to square to the trailer. Meaning backing straight into it. Now, if you are like me and you're used to using mirrors, it's not too bad. What you want to do is look in your driver's side mirror and your passenger side mirror, and ideally you want to see the same amount of trailer on each side when you're hooking the trailer up. Now, if the trailer is lightweight or the trailer's empty, especially if the trailer's empty and lightweight, a lot of times you can just manhandle the trailer. Some of them have roll jacks, and that's perfectly fine. But if you are trying to hook to a loaded trailer, it's easier to take your time, try it 2 or 3 times than to throw your back out. So this is your view from inside the vehicle, as you can see. And like I said, you want to try to get even amount of trailer in both mirrors showing. Now, if you have a rear backup camera, now is the time to use it. That was the whole point of putting them in your pickup trucks originally, was to make it easier to connect the trailer. But since we don't have a backup camera, we're doing it the old-fashioned way. Now, they do sell things. It's basically a tennis ball and a stick with a magnetic base, if you want to, you know, invest in one of those. If you hook to trailers often, that may be a worthy investment for you if you do this by yourself. And another option is to just have a spotter. Now, as far as the trailer, getting it prepped to hook up, you want to make sure that you have your locking mechanism open, and you want to make sure that your trailer is jacked up far enough off the ground that your tow ball is going to clear. So we'll set you up, and we'll probably do a time lapse of this, and we will get it hooked up. So as you can see, I've got it pretty close. It's almost impossible to get it perfectly lined up. As you saw in the video, when you think you're close, get out and check, and then make small adjustments to get it as close as possible. So now that we have it at this point, we can go ahead and start letting the jack down. Now, if you don't have it exactly lined up, once you get it jacked down to where the weight is on the ball, what you can do is grab hold of the trailer and shake it. Because you can see right here that this is not fully down, and we are off of this. So one thing I want to notice, never put your fingers anywhere inside of here. So what you want to do is just there it goes. Sometimes if you ain't used it much, sometimes you might have to flip the latch a time or two. But once it's down, flip your latch all the way down. And then I like to use a padlock. You can use, I've used bolts before. Just put you a bolt through it and run you a couple of nuts up on it. I'm going to take you a piece of wire tied through that. But you want to make sure to put something through that as a safety. That way, if this here comes loose, or this latch mechanism don't work correctly, your trailer's not coming off. I have had trailers come off before due to a wore out latch mechanism, and I learned real quick, always ensure to put something through here as a safety device, and you always want to use your safety chains. So used to be I just took them straight under like that. I've seen people take and cross the safety chains. I don't think that there's really that big of a, which somebody may correct me, but there's probably not truly a right or wrong to it. But after having a bit of thought, crossing the safety chains makes sense, because this comes loose, you have tension pulling opposite directions, which is going to help keep this trailer straight while I'm working on getting it slowed down to a stop. So now that we're hooked up, we want to run this all the ways in. Okay, so make sure you always run your jack all the ways up. If it's a folding or swing jack, make sure it's brought up into the horizontal position. That way you're not going to drag it on anything. And then last but not least, we're going to plug in our pigtail for our trailer lights. Now this one has a four prong. They make 4-prong, I think 5-prong, and then I know there's the bladed 7 or the 7 bladed plug-ins that are popular nowadays. As to what lights you need on your trailer, check your state laws. It varies state to state. Same way with whether or not you need a license plate on your trailer, that varies state to state. So I would say check with your state laws if you're going to be traveling far from home or using your trailer often. So with that, we are now hooked up and we're ready to hit the road with it. Okay, so what you've just seen is a demonstration of what is called cheating. Specifically, the trailer is cheating. And that is what people call it, or refer to it as, when they're talking about a trailer will cut to the inside of the corner. And so the common belief is that you have to swing wide when you're towing a trailer. Because the trailer is going to cheat to the inside of the corner. And you can see where my trailer's rear tire is in relation to the tire track of the Jeep. And you can see that there is a fairly good offset. Probably about, I don't know, maybe 2 foot. But the thing is that this is, you will only see that significant of a offset when you're turning a very tight or sharp corner. On the road, it's going to cheat to the inside a little bit, but not a whole lot. And so there's not really a reason to swing way wide on the road to take corners. But I just wanted to demonstrate that right quick. Okay folks, so tying back into my previously shown demonstration about how when you turn a corner the trailer is going to cheat and it's always going to swing to the inside. A common misconception that a lot of people have is that the common knowledge is you have to swing wide with a trailer, and this is true and a falsehood at the same time. It is true that you have to swing a little wider to allow for that trailer cheat, but it is also a falsehood because of the way that people generally execute a turn while pulling a trailer. Now, I back in here, which is next segment, but I did my best to position the Jeep to demonstrate when where you would want to set up your turn. So we're going to turn right going out of here. So if you're turning right, you want to set up to the far left hand portion of your lane. If you're turning left, you want to set the turn up to the far right hand portion of your lane. And this is one of the keys to turning a trailer without running over curbs and things like that, or running the trailer off the road, is thinking ahead and setting the turn up before you get into the turn. So as you can see, I am positioned as far over in my lane as I can, so that what that means is as I come forward and drive, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and drive straight. Because here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about pulling a trailer, is that you are not driving the vehicle, you are driving the trailer. So what I have to do is, with my tow vehicle, I have to set up the trailer wide, and I have to drive out straight and then turn, because I am turning the trailer around. The steer of the trailer is the pivot point where it connects to the tow vehicle, and then it's going to pivot around the rear axle, or it's going to pivot around the trailer axles, I should say, and follow through. So you have to bring that tow point further out, and the only way to do that is by bringing the tow vehicle further out. So to drive this without going off the road, and the problem and the thing that I see a lot of people do, especially if you have multiple lanes, it's illegal in most states, and this maneuver is called the button hook. So you have a lane, you have and then you have your turn lane here, and then you have your road coming off. What people will do is, instead of, the proper way would be to set up to the far outside of your lane, drive straight up, and then turn. What a lot of people will do is, when they come here, they will drive right up to here and then cut over and turn. And that is illegal in most states, and that is not correct. What you want to do is, like I showed, is you want to set up to the outside, drive, and turn, and so your trailer will come like that. So let's get everything set up and we'll demonstrate. Okay, so as you can see from that demonstration, which I have this is a 10-foot single axle. Now, as your trailer gets longer, it's going to take more room to turn it. So, you know, a 16-foot, you're going to have to allow more room, because it's going to cheat the corner further and further. But as you can see, you know, just with my little trailer, you know, basically one lane road turning onto one lane road, and never once did I go off the road. And that's all by setting up my corner properly, driving the vehicle through the turn, and then turning the trailer. So that would be your proper way of executing a actual turn when towing a trailer. Now, as to being on the highway, you know, negotiating curves, you would, and again, not something like my 10-foot trailer is negligible, the amount of corner cheating you get at speed on the highway. But as your trailer gets longer, it's going to cheat the corner a little more. So there's two real tricks to that. The first one is that you don't want to coast through corners while pulling a trailer. If you're coasting, you're not in control of the trailer. Your only control on that trailer is by pulling on it. So if you maintain speed, lightly accelerate through a corner, you're pulling on the trailer through the corner. and that's going to make it want to track truer to what your vehicle is tracking. And then the other tip is, when you do get into 16, 20, 25, 30-foot trailers, big trailers, then when you're negotiating turns on road, not really turns, but corners on road, then what you want to do is you want to track the vehicle to the high side of the corner, and that in combination with staying on staying on the throttle, slight acceleration through the corner to pull the trailer and make it track straight, will make pulling a trailer, especially a large trailer on road, a whole lot easier. So now comes the part that everybody dreads, and that's backing a trailer. Okay, so just a quick tip. If you have a four-wheel drive vehicle, you can put it in 4 low, and this will make things a lot easier, because that's going to give you reduction gears. That's going to slow the speed of the vehicle down, the speed of the trailer down, and it's going to make it a lot easier to back. Now, especially if you have a manual transmission, if you don't have reduction gears, then just take your time and be easy. So what you want to do is, ideally, you want to pull forward so that your tow vehicle and your trailer is straight and in line with each other. So you want to, at this point, if I didn't already know, I would turn the vehicle off, I would get out, and I would go look to see where I want to put this trailer. I've already done that, so we're going to continue on with this here. So I know I want the trailer to go right, so I'll put my hand on the bottom of the wheel and I'll turn right. So just again, so bottom of the wheel, I want the trailer to go that direction, so I turn the wheel that direction. So now we'll watch our mirror, and you can see the trailer starts going that direction. Now, I don't see rear view cameras being much help with backing a trailer. I use my mirrors. I have these nice little blind spot mirrors. They're wonderful. Another really good trick is just turn around and look. Something that I learned from my stepdad is that with pickup trucks especially, you can take and drop the tailgate down, and it makes it a lot easier to back a trailer when you can see the trailer. So, watching our mirrors, looking behind us, so it's going where I want. So what I've done is, when I turned here, when I saw it was where I wanted it, I counter steered, so I brought it the opposite direction, so I can see the trailers. Okay, you can see we're almost back to straight. So I don't want it straight, I want it to turn. So I'm going to bring and induce a little more turn. And when I see it's turned as far as I want it, I'm going to come back and counter steer to make the Jeep follow the trailer. Okay, so and there you go. We just backed the trailer back to exactly where we was at. So before we close this video out, I have one final topic to go over, and that would be gear selection. Now, when I say gear selection, I'm not just talking about the manual shift crowd. Gear selection is also important in an automatic. If you don't run it in the correct gear when towing trailers, you can damage the transmission. Now, I know this is scary, big scary sounding. Oh, well, I ain't going to try. Most of your vehicles are fine for towing trailers. Most of them are even designed for it. Now, I'll cover the manual first, and then we'll get into the automatic. Now, when I say select the right gear, that means that you want to keep your RPMs in the appropriate range to make power and not lug the engine. Now, that doesn't mean you have to wind it out in every gear, but you just need to be mindful that you're pulling extra weight. There's extra drag. You're going to have to run a higher RPM to make more power out of the motor to compensate for that. Now, if you are towing a empty trailer or a very light load, you may be able to, you would probably be fine in 6th gear on flat ground or going downhill. If you are pulling a heavily loaded trailer or you are starting uphill, gear it down to 5th. Especially if you are heavily loaded. Because the thing is as you go higher in your gears, your gear ratio gets smaller. You can on the highway for a light trailer, or just a couple of 2x4s, you can hum along in 6th gear all day in overdrive. But if you have a actual, what you would consider, a load, especially a heavy load, you don't want to go any higher than your 1-to-1 gear. And this Jeep having the 6-speed manual, my 1-to-1 gear is 5th gear. Now, if you have, say, an older 5-speed, then your 1-to-1 gear is often 4th gear. So that's where you'd want to stay, driving, cruising down the highway. Now, if you have an automatic, most of your automatics, especially if you bought one with a tow haul package, will have some kind of button, and this is most of your work vans and trucks will have a tow haul mode button. And what that does is it remaps the shift points in your of your transmission. Now, if you don't have a tow haul mode, then what you want to do is there's usually an overdrive off button that you can depress, and that will prevent the transmission from going into overdrive while towing. Because or if you don't have an overdrive off button, you may have like a 3 or D setting. You want to lock an automatic transmission out of overdrive, because what happens is that it wants to go into overdrive for fuel efficiency, but because overdrive is such a tall gear, it can't maintain speed. It puts a higher load on the engine, and so it shifts down out of drive, or out of overdrive into drive. And so what it does is it's constantly hunting gears, drive, overdrive, and you can cause it to overheat, and you will start dropping gears. I've seen it done. So just be mindful that if you are towing, especially heavy loads, you need to be mindful of gear selection. In a manual, don't go past your 1-to-1 gear on the highway, especially heavy, if you're heavily loaded. In an automatic, turn overdrive off, engage tow haul mode. Sorry, had a tickle in my throat. But and then another thing to think about is you need to adjust your driving habits. Drive slower, because you're adding weight. Now, if you have a big trailer, chances are you have trailer brakes, and those are going to really help. But I put 1,500 pounds on this utility trailer. It's all up to the Jeep and its brakes to stop me. So 1,500 pounds is a heavy load, but it's within capabilities. You know, you have a project, you need to go get 10, 15 bags of concrete. That's very easily, a lot of weight. So that's the thing, is you always need to be mindful of your driving. When towing a trailer, not just, not running the trailer off the road, not just backing the trailer, not just, not hitting anything with the trailer, but it's going to increase your stopping distance. It's going to increase the amount of space you need in order to accelerate up to speed. So always be mindful of that and adjust your driving accordingly. So I know I tend to get rambling. I'm trying not to. So I'm going to end this here. So I want to say thank you everyone for watching. If you stayed with me to the end, you are an absolute saint. And we'll see y'all next time.